On today's episode of the franchise, it's Thursday, February 16th. In today's episode, we got Shohei Ohtani commenting on his future with the Angels organization. Going to talk about that as well as, what's at stake for him and the Angels this upcoming season. NBA All-Star Weekend, the dunk contest, and three-point contest. Nikola Jokic, could he three-peat? Could he win 3 straight MVP awards in the NBA? Are the Lakers contenders? I'm going to give out my NBA contenders for a championship. What could the Chicago Bears do with the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft? Before we get into the franchise, today's podcast, as always, it's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So whether you want to watch or listen, go follow, comment, like, and subscribe on all of those platforms. All right, let's begin with Shohei Ohtani. Arguably, the biggest story of this upcoming MLB season is going to be Ohtani and his future with the Angels and potentially whatever new team he either leaves, gets traded to, signs with. There's a whole lot at stake with Ohtani this season. He's going to be set to be a free agent this offseason after his first 6 years with the Angels. They've yet to make the postseason. They've yet to have a winning record. So they've played horrible with having arguably the best player in the sport, an MVP, top 5 Cy Young finisher, top 4 MVP finisher, top 2 MVP finisher, the best player in the game. They've had the best player in the game. They've had the 2 best players in the game. They've yet to make the postseason with both of them on the roster, and they've yet to even have a winning record. So with Ohtani set to be a free agent this offseason, it speculates a lot of rumors. I mean, first of all, the guy is going to get a $500 million contract. He's going to be the first player in professional sports, American professional sports, to get $500 million. I think that's pretty obvious. I think that's the starting point to get Shohei Ohtani on your team. So that's the first thing, is the money. But the second thing is, does he want to re-sign with the Angels? Because he's came out many times in the past and said he wants to play for a winner, for a team that's going to go out there and compete for a World Series championship every single season. And when you look at the Angels, they don't fit that mold. They have great pieces, great players on that team. Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon, Luis Rengifo, Taylor Ward. They have a lot of great players, and they've had great players over Ohtani's tenure. I mean, Justin Upton, Pujols, they've had great players, but they've never been a good team. So when Ohtani says he wants to go play for a winner, the Angels don't really fit that conversation, and they don't fit the mold of a winner. So Ohtani and his extension possibility, he's said that neither side has talked about an extension from what he's aware of. He said today, as we're in the first few days of spring training in the MLB, he said, quote, "As of now, I'm an Angel, and that's what I'm going to focus on," in regards to his contract extension and his future with the team. He did acknowledge that he's a free agent this offseason, saying that if he doesn't sign an extension, he'll naturally become a free agent, and he believes that him and the Angels are on the same page in terms of winning. So he doesn't give a lot there about what he's feeling, whether he wants to sign an extension, whether he is going to test the free agent market. He doesn't give a whole lot to work with there in terms of what his future is going to be. But if the Angels want any chance of re-signing Shohei Ohtani, they have to win. And I think that is mainly what this season entails. I mean, Ohtani, he can do whatever he wants, but if the Angels want any shot, any chance of re-signing him for the long term, they are going to have to put out a winning product, and they're going to have to make the playoffs. I mean, at least they're going to have to make the postseason to have the conversation of Ohtani could return to them. Because if they miss the playoffs for this, 6th, 7th straight season with Ohtani, there's no way he's re-signing with them, regardless of however much money they throw at him. I mean, if they throw out $600 million, maybe, but with what he said, he wants to win a World Series. Why would he stay with a team that has yet to make the postseason with him on the roster? So if the Angels want any shot of re-signing Shohei Ohtani this offseason, they have to put out a winning ball club and make the playoffs. I mean, they've put pieces in place this offseason. They've brought in guys. They have Mike Trout, Taylor Ward on that roster, Hunter Renfroe, Urshela, Walsh, Rendon if he's healthy, Luis Rengifo. That pitching staff, people always want to say the Angels need to add pitching and they have a bad pitching staff. Last season, their starters had the 10th ranked ERA in baseball at a 3.9 team ERA. That was 10th best in Major League Baseball. So yeah, you can always add starting pitching. But the Angels had a good rotation last season, and anyone that says they didn't have a good rotation is simply just relying on the previous 20 years of the Angels organization where they have not had good pitching. But their rotation is nice with Ohtani, Tyler Anderson, seeing what he can do this coming over from the Dodgers. Reed Detmers, Patrick Sandoval, and Jose Suarez, a bunch of southpaws that are very young with lots of potential. I mean, Detmers threw a no-hitter last year. Sandoval almost threw a no-hitter, I believe, last year, and if not the year before that. And Jose Suarez is a guy that can eat innings and have a very high 3 ERA. And then obviously Ohtani is the head of that pitching rotation. But yeah, if the Angels want any chance of re-signing Ohtani, they are going to have to win. And if at the deadline, if at the deadline they're having a typical Angels season where they're under 500, not competing for a playoff spot or a wild card spot, they are going to have to trade him. Because you cannot take the chance of, I mean, if you're having a losing record, why would you think he's going to re-sign with you? Just because he's been with the organization for his entire career, he's going to re-sign? I don't think he's going to be just like Mike Trout and re-sign with the Angels because he's comfortable. So if the Angels are losing, if they have a losing record, if they're not in the playoff contention at the trade deadline, they have to trade Ohtani because he's going to leave in free agency, and you need to get value back for the best player in the game and one of the greatest players of all time. In terms of talent, he's one of the best players of all time. So the Angels, we're going to go through the scenario of they are bad at the deadline. They have to trade him to a team like the Dodgers and get tons of prospects back. To a team, whatever organization has a lot of top prospects and is going to give you the best offer, you have to trade him there. And if I was to trade him, as much as I would not want to as an Angels fan, or ignore the Padres ad, I mean, as an Angels fan, I would not want to trade him. But if I did, I would trade him to the Dodgers. As much as that sucks because he's in the same city, the Dodgers have arguably one of the best farm systems in baseball. And the return you can get for Ohtani to the Dodgers is better than any return package you get from any of the other 29 teams. But if the Angels, if they make the playoffs, I think they have a chance of re-signing Ohtani. I think it's going to be minimum $500 million. I don't think it'll be 10 years. I think it'd be like 6, 7, or 8 years. $500 million at the minimum to get this guy back on the team. But this is going to be something that we keep an eye on throughout the entire MLB season, is how are the Angels doing and what does it mean for Ohtani's future with the ball club. All right, I think it's this weekend. We got the NBA dunk contest and three-point contest and the All-Star game. I just want to focus on the dunk contest in this one. We'll talk about the three-point too. We already did All-Stars a bunch over the past few weeks, but the dunk contest for this season is absolutely atrocious. The 4 players participating in this dunk contest are not the correct players to be promoting this kind of event for the NBA. You have KJ Martin from the Houston Rockets, Mac McClung, who for a majority of the season has not played on an NBA roster, Trey Murphy II from the Pelicans, and Jericho Sims from the Knicks. None of these 4 guys get meaningful minutes on their team, and Mac McClung just signed an NBA contract with the Sixers. Majority of the season, he's been in the G League. He hasn't even played NBA minutes, and he's in the dunk contest. Now, Mac McClung is one of the best dunkers in the sport of basketball. He was a great dunker in high school and in college. He's a great dunker. KJ Martin and Trey Murphy and Jericho Sims, I bet they can, they have some talent too. I mean, they're in the dunk contest, but for the NBA, these are not the right kind of guys you want in the dunk contest. When I look a few years back, the best dunk contest was the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine, in Toronto. That dunk contest was legendary. Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon were going back to back, dunk to dunk, topping one another with every single new dunk that they did. So for the NBA to put out these four guys who don't even get minutes or real minutes on their respective teams is absolutely atrocious. It's horrible. It's bad for the league. And they're not going to get any viewers in this because what kind of average fan knows these four guys? No one. But if you put out a Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon. I mean, if you put out a Ja Morant and you had Zion Williamson and you had two other all-stars or at least meaningful names as NBA players, this dunk contest is a whole lot better. I just think it's really sad that the NBA is putting out these four guys, and one of them's not even in the NBA for the majority of the season, in this event at the All-Star Game. The three-point contest, that one's a little bit better. Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Kevin Huerter, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Randall, and Lauri Markkanen. I mean, at least this one has more star names. I mean, Jason Tatum's an MVP candidate. Damian Lillard's top 5 point guard in the league. Halliburton's an all-star. Hield's one of the best three-point shooters. Hero, a lot of people know who Tyler Hero is. So at least the three-point contest is better, but the dunk contest has been horrible for years. Last year, I think Obi Toppin was in it, and then I can't even remember the other three contestants. The year before that, I don't even know. I mean, the dunk contest has just fallen off because stars, for some reason, don't want to be in the dunk contest, although I think it's the coolest event. All-star festivity in all of the sports next to the home run derby. But yeah, they need more stars in there. They need a Ja Morant. They need a Zion. They need a LeBron James in the dunk contest. Nikola Jokic is on the verge of potentially winning his third straight MVP award. He's won it the past 2 seasons, and coming into the season, I don't think anyone gave Jokic the possibility of winning a third straight because the people that vote on the NBA MVP are media and writers, and they usually don't like giving awards. They like new faces, after 2 years. After back-to-back, it's usually who's the new guy that we can give the award to. But the NBA has put out a recent midseason or All-Star break MVP ballot, and Nikola Jokic won that ballot. So he's currently the favorite to win the NBA MVP for the third straight time in his career. This season, Jokic is averaging a triple-double. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, shooting 63% from the field, 39% from three, 82% from the free throw line. Looking at some advanced numbers, 26.5 usage percentage, that's 48th in basketball. So he's not even being used at a high rate, but he's just playing absolutely incredible. He's number 1 in player impact, number 1 in offensive rating, number 1 in net rating, number 3 in assist percentage, number 1 in defensive rebound percentage, and he's led the Denver Nuggets to the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. He's an absolutely incredible player. I think he's obviously the best center in the league, and he's probably a top 7 player in the league. I know he's about to win his third straight MVP. I still think there's 5 or 6 players better than him, which might not make a whole lot of sense. But this guy's absolutely incredible. I mean, his scoring, his passing, his rebounding, his shooting, his ball handling are all at an elite level. And for a guy that's 7 feet to be able to shoot and play make at a level like a guard, it hasn't really, it's not that common. And Jokic is an incredible player. I think he's easily winning his third straight MVP unless Jason Tatum or Joel Embiid come out here in the second half of the season and absolutely dominate and Jokic falls off a cliff. But for me, he's winning his third straight MVP award. I think this one's going to be unanimous because no one else is really touching what he's doing. And he's averaging a triple-double. So I think that's enough, really, for his third straight MVP award. All right, the Lakers, real quick. The conversation is starting back up if they're going to be contenders after the trade for D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley and all of those guys at the deadline. They're 27-32, 13th in the Western Conference, 2.5 games back of the play-in tournament. After the All-Star break, the 24th toughest schedule remaining, so they have one of the easier schedules left in the game. I think they'll make the play-in. They will make the play-in tournament, whether that's the 9th, 10th, or 8th, 9th, 7, 8, 9, or 10th seed. I think they'll be in the play-in tournament. I mean, with LeBron and Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, all of those guys, they're good enough. If they just win games, they're going to make the play-in tournament. And then who knows what happens once they get there with LeBron and AD. They could easily, take down a few teams and then be in the actual playoffs. Let's say the Lakers make the playoffs. I don't think they're contenders. They can't shoot the three-point ball, which is very, very important in the postseason. Their defense has been up and down all year. They have a top 10 offense, which is great, but their defense has been very iffy the entire season, and they cannot shoot the three-point ball at all. So they're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the entire league. So I think they'll make the postseason, whether it's the play-in and then ultimately the NBA playoffs. I just don't think they're contenders for a championship. Could they beat a team in the first round? Like, let's say they're the 8th seed. Could they upset the Nuggets in the first round? Definitely. I mean, they have LeBron James, the greatest player of all time. So they could definitely upset a team in the first round, but they're not making the finals, and they're not winning a championship with this current roster without the three-point shooting on this team. So that brings up the question. We did this a few weeks ago. This was before the trade deadline. I gave out my NBA contenders. My NBA contenders a few weeks ago were the Nuggets, Grizzlies, Warriors, Clippers, Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, Nets, Cavs, and Kings. Now it's basically the same list. It's the Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, 76ers, Cavs, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Suns, and Warriors. The new addition to that list is the Phoenix Suns, because they acquired Kevin Durant. That immediately puts them into the conversation of a team that can go out there and win a championship. Their roster has Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, and they have a great head coach in Monty Williams. So they're automatically contenders with that Kevin Durant trade. But looking at these teams, as we start to narrow down the list of contenders, starting with Boston, they're the best team in the league, 42-17. They have the number 4 ranked offense, number 6 ranked defense, and the number 7 ranked three-point shooting team in the entire league. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown have been getting better every single year they've been playing together. Tatum's an MVP candidate. He's an all-star starter. Brown is an all-star. He's playing amazing. Marcus Smart, Derek White, Al Horford, this entire Boston Celtics roster, even with a new head coach, because remember, their coach got fired to begin the season. Bring in the interim head coach. He's now their official head coach. This team's been amazing this season. For a team that went to the finals last year, I think they're better this year than they were last year. So they're easily the best team in the game and a contender to go out there and win a championship. Milwaukee's still here. Giannis is the first, second, or third best player in the entire world. He's an absolute dominating force inside in the paint. Chris Middleton's getting healthy back from his injury. Drew Holiday is an all-star. They have three-point shooting. Bobby Portis, Joe Ingles, Pat Connaughton, Brook Lopez. This team has a lot of depth. They have championship experience, and they have a top 3 player in the sport. They're contenders. Philadelphia. I really, really like this Sixers team. I think this is the best Sixers team they've put together in the last 4 or 5 seasons. James Harden, all-star. Joel Embiid, all-star MVP candidate. Tyrese Maxey, an elite scorer, whether he's playing in the starting lineup or off the bench, he's able to get buckets. Tobias Harris can have really, really on nights if you need him to. He provides some great versatility for them. They just have a great squad. Doc Rivers as their head coach, I like as well, regardless of what he's done over the past few years in the postseason. I think he's still a great coach, and their roster, especially their bench depth, is very, very nice. I think they're contenders as well. Cleveland, I have the Cavs as contenders. Some people, I think, don't have them as a team that can compete for a championship because of their offense. They have the 26th ranked offense in the game, but they have the number 1 defense and the number 12 3-point shooting team. The Donovan Mitchell trade was absolutely incredible. I mean, they went from a team that was in the play-in last season to contenders just based off one trade, and they didn't give up any of their significant draft assets or depth. So having him, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and the guys off of the bench for them, regardless of how low their offense ranks, their defense is going to keep them in these games, especially in the postseason, and having a good 3-point shooting team is very important as well. I forgot to mention with the 76ers, they have a top 3 defense and a top 5 3-point shooting team. All right, the Nuggets, they have Nikola Jokic. He's going to win his 3rd straight MVP, like I said a few minutes ago. They're 41-18, number 1 in the Western Conference, number 6 ranked offense, 13 on defense, and they have the best 3-point shooting team in the game. So they have a very nice recipe for playoff success right there. The Grizzlies, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. This is a very nice team. They cannot shoot the 3-point ball. They're 24th in 3-point shooting, but their offense is number 9 and their defense is number 8. They're a very young, aggressive team. We'll see how that fares in the postseason. They haven't had a whole lot of playoff success, and they are very, very young, and they just can't shoot the 3-point ball. But I think Ja Morant can definitely carry a team, and the rest of that team could definitely go to the finals. And if everything goes right, they could definitely win one. The Phoenix Suns, I mean, like I said, they added Kevin Durant, and their offense right now is ranked 22nd. That's going to get better with KD. Their defense is ranked 5. That's going to drop, losing Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, 2 of the best defenders in the game. Definitely going to hurt their defense, but this team is going to get a whole lot better with the addition of Kevin Durant. And then finally, I have the Warriors. They're 29-29. Very tough stretch, just a very rough start to the season. I mean, they have not been playing good basketball this season, but they're the reigning champions with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Wiggins, Jordan Poole, 20th on offense, 27th on defense, but they're a top 3-point shooting team, so I cannot count them out as contenders. If I was to give my current NBA Finals pick, I have 4 teams here. The Boston Celtics, I think they're the only team. I think they're the clear favorites in the Eastern Conference to make the finals. And then my other 3 teams are all from the West. I have Denver, Phoenix, and the Warriors, all potential teams to play the Celtics in the finals. So I think the Celtics are making the finals, and then I'm between either the Nuggets, Suns, or the Golden State Warriors. All right, finally, we got some NFL talk. We got the Chicago Bears are on the clock with the number 1 overall pick. And now that we're in the offseason, there's going to be a lot of conversation surrounding the NFL draft, surrounding the number 1 overall pick, and these quarterbacks. When you look at the draft this year, there's a plethora of quarterback talent. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker. Those are some of the top names in this NFL draft, and we have a potential for 4 quarterbacks to go in the first round of this year's draft. And the team that holds the number 1 overall pick, the Chicago Bears, they currently have a quarterback on their roster. Justin Fields last season kind of had some breakout moments for the Bears, regardless of them being the worst team in the league. He had some great moments. Looking at some numbers, 2,242 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 60 completion percentage. That's pretty low, but he's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league. I think he's second to Lamar Jackson in his ability to rush the football. He had 1,143 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns as a quarterback. He showed a lot of moments this season with his arm and with his legs where you could see him being a potential franchise quarterback for the Bears. But with them having the number 1 overall pick, I mean, the question is going to come up. What do they do? Do they stay at number 1 and draft a defensive player? Do they stay at number 1 and do they draft a quarterback and trade away Justin Fields? Or do they ultimately trade the number one overall pick away, build around Justin Fields, and then draft another player later in the first round while accumulating more assets for their rebuild? First of all, you look at the top quarterback candidates. I think there's two guys right now, quarterback-wise, that are going to go number one. That's either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. Bryce Young from Alabama, he's 5'11", which is very undersized, 190 pounds, which are two of the biggest question marks for him, are his size and his weight. How will he handle in the NFL? How durable will he be? But his college stats at Alabama are incredible. In 2021, he had 4,800 yards, 47 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, won the Heisman Trophy. Last year, down year, 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks, 64 completion percentage for Alabama. He has great pocket presence, touch, timing, and vision. He's slightly mobile, not as mobile as a guy like Justin Fields. But I think he's going to be a great NFL quarterback regardless of his size. But for me, this other guy, he's the best quarterback in the class. I think he will go number one overall. He's my favorite quarterback. Even though I'm in the beginning process of ranking all of these potential first-round picks in the NFL draft, as it's like 2 months away, C.J. Stroud for me is the best quarterback in the draft class. Coming in at 6'3", 218, 2021, he had 4,435 yards, 44 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on a 72 completion percentage, which is absolutely incredible. And then last year, 3,688 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 66 completion percentage. He's more mobile than Bryce Young, has a better arm, he's more consistent, and he's accurate to all levels of the field, whether it's his short ball, mid-range passing, deep ball, red zone. He's elite at every single aspect of his game at that quarterback position, and he's played great throughout his entire career at Ohio State. While Bryce Young has had some more down moments, especially last season, he had more down games than C.J. Stroud has ever had in his entire career. And for me, Stroud has a better build. He's taller, he's heavier, he's stronger than Bryce Young. He has a better arm. So for me, he's the best quarterback in the draft class. He might be the best player overall in this entire class. So if the Bears want to move on from Fields, I mean, they have some nice replacement candidates, Stroud and Young. But for me, for the Bears, in terms of just the Bears, which is what we're focusing on right now, they need to keep Justin Fields. I know you could restart the clock with, you can have 5 years to rebuild with Stroud or Young compared to 3 with Fields, but you've seen what Fields can do. He's shown highlights, and if you just build around him with an offensive line, you put some receivers, and you build a defense, in a few seasons, this Bears team could be back in the postseason. So I think they need to trade that number one overall pick. And there's a few teams that could definitely trade up. The Colts, they're at 4. Raiders, 7. The Falcons are at 8. The Panthers are at 9. The Titans, possibly, they're at number 11. And then the Buccaneers are at 19. For me right now, I think the Colts are the favorite. I think they jump up to number 1 with the Bears. I think the Colts take C.J. Stroud, and I think the Bears trade down to number 4 and either get a Jalen Carter or Will Anderson on that defensive side of the football, who are 2 of the best defensive players in this draft class. But we'll talk about more into the NFL draft as we get closer. We're a few months away, going through all of the process of the NFL draft, ranking all these players, watching the film. Now, I'm watching film on these players. That will do it for this episode of The Franchise. We'll be back on Friday, tomorrow, with another episode. As always, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We will see you guys tomorrow.